This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh,
Takes a hop
shank.
off the pad.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
Well, I would like to welcome a 3-time All-American from UCLA and a national championship winner with that team, playing the Challenge Tour over in Europe this year in 2023, which we will get into because it's very, very cool in my opinion. The great Erik Flores. Pro, thanks for doing this today. Looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome to be here with you, Jason, man. Thanks so much.
Well, first off, I have to ask you, the trip to Sycamore, you came up, we worked on some golf club stuff, we hung out a little bit, ate a bunch of food, probably too much, maybe we didn't go too hard. The cocktails were served, but not overserved. It was great to meet you in person. You know, how was the road trip, coming up to see us and all that? And then we're going to get into, what's going on for the summer for you.
Man, it's been awesome. It was awesome getting up to see you guys. I mean, we've been dealing together for, I guess this would be our second year at least now.
At least, yeah.
So we've talked on the phone a bunch.
Yeah, COVID, I think it actually started, right? Where we couldn't even really see each other.
Yeah, which is when I started playing. Basically, when I started playing again was COVID, and so yeah, it's great to put. Obviously, I've seen you on social media and everything, but put an actual face to face, to the name and the voice. So, and you guys are awesome. I just got to say, like out the gate, the culture you guys have built up there, and the team you have, the products and everything. It's been awesome, and the support, from a guy who, is coming back to play really, is super, super appreciated. So, I can't thank you guys enough, and the facility is great. Again, just like a cool, man cave vibe, hangout spot with a bar and a couple of hitting bays, and obviously your team's great there under Dan Peck, and yeah, it was just a spectacular time. Couldn't thank you enough for getting me up there.
Well, I just had fun hanging out too, right? It's always great, like I said, I feel the same way you do. It's, not trying to brag our stuff or anything, but just to get to know you as a person, and I really enjoyed it. And like I said, we had a good time, drinking, eating, drinking. I mean, that's kind of what we did, and a little bit of golf mixed in with it. But I mean, we definitely put the calories down in a 24-hour period.
That burrito we had for lunch was in a couple
fantastic.
Beers. Yeah, that took 2 days to digest, but it was great.
It's all right. But is there anything better than a great burrito? At a really good Mexican place, for a lunch. I don't know, man. That
isn't much. I mean, it's top 10 joy in the world, in my opinion. And I am Mexican, so I'm somewhat biased. But
so good. Well, let's talk about this summer. I think as a golf fan, there is something just cool as hell, romantic, old school of going to Europe and playing the Challenge Tour or the DP World Tour, which I know your goal is to get on. I know it was pretty close last year to getting, your card on that. How has that journey been of kind of focusing on Europe? And I know we talked as well, you enjoy the culture as much as I do, but I think it's such a cool way of chasing it professionally is going over there and doing it. So yeah, let me know what your summer's looking like and what the goals sort of are and how you see it kind of unfolding.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do I start with that? Last year I went over kind of on a wild hair whim and went and did the British Open qualifying, or the Open qualifying, which I'd never done before, and I'd always wanted to do it. And so I went over and did it last year and played a few other events on what's called the Clutch Tour over there, kind of in between, just some warm-up events and some other stuff to do, which is a great little tour in England and really UK, but all over there. But no, I kind of fell in love with it and being over there, and so I went back for the Q school in the fall, and gosh, the style of golf is just really fun. I mean, obviously there's much more to discover about Europe, which I'm excited about this summer, playing Challenge Tour, which I'll be heading over after the US Open's finished sectional qualifying and all that. So, but yeah, it's from a practical level though, the European Tour and DP World Tour is, it's another pathway to the PGA Tour. And their Q school over there, they still do old school style, which is, you can get, there's 25 cards for DP World at the end of the deal in final stage, and they do 6 rounds like they used to do here for final stage. So it's to me was a better avenue, practically speaking, than Korn Ferry Tour, which I'd played a few years. But yeah, also just like the romanticism, like you said, of being able to travel over Europe, and really the DP World goes all over. But it just seemed like a lot more fun, and you're playing for more money and more world ranking points. It kind of, no offense to Wichita, Kansas, but, beats Wichita, Kansas, or Omaha, Nebraska, like Korn Ferry Tour plays. So, which I played that tour. It was great too. But,
I get what you're saying. No, if you can go to,
yeah.
I love Nebraska. It's like my second home state. But yes, there is something about, an event in Spain in the summer, right, in Europe, like that's pretty badass. Right? Like,
awesome. Yeah. And I think the style of golf for me is a little better. Like, I mean, it's just a little more like gritty, and like, it's obviously the courses are different and somewhat, less manicured than maybe like the PGA Tour. But the value of par just seems to be more there. Like then, Korn Ferry Tour just gets like a wedge shootout, how low can you go situation. So, you got a little more elements over there, but yeah, it's just all of it is cool for me. So,
do you have any idea how many of the courses will be link style versus your Parkland style golf course over there when you're playing Challenge?
I would say majority are probably going to be Parkland. Just looking at the schedule where they're at, there are a couple events in UK, so there'll definitely be some links-ish courses. But it's not so much necessarily about links golf. I guess, it'll be mostly Parkland. Obviously, Open Championship and all the qualifying, they've got tons of links courses over there. So there's going to be no shortage of that.
How do you like playing links versus Parkland, style of golf? Is there one that if you could, let's say, you had to play one style all the time, do you have a favorite one way or the other from that regard?
That's a good question. If I had to play one for the rest of my life, I'd probably stick with Parkland still, just because of some of the courses that are my favorite. But I don't know. There's something special like about an amazing link style course. I was fortunate to play Muirfield last year when I was over there, and North Berwick and or North Berwick, as they say in Scotland. Turnberry I got to play, which might even be top. That's definitely a top 5 course for me. So I don't know. Playing those day in and day out, the battle is just so intense, with the wind and the precision that it takes. It's super fun in a challenging way that's so different than what we're used to. So, I definitely fell in love with links golf more when I got over there. Before, all my experience was just Bandon, or pretty much Bandon. So
I thought Muirfield was I got to play last fall. I thought it was just spectacular. I mean, to me, you could have literally had an Open Championship if they would open up the back tees that next day. It was that challenging with the bunkering. You literally could have said, okay, there's the tournament tees. They would take no prep time, and you could have an Open Championship out there. That's how that course plays. I thought it was just phenomenal. Totally.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right about it. Obviously, Muirfield's,
it's a big
history of
course.
golf. That's top 3 course in the world, and it is for a reason. I think that whole place is like, it's almost like, it's an art. I mean, the whole way the whole place is laid out with the wind, and like every hole is designed where no matter the wind direction, like it's got its challenges. Like, and I noticed this about some of the links courses I played in, especially like Muirfield. There'd be a bunker out somewhere. And you'd be like, why is that bunker even there? It's like totally not in play. It's just some random bunker. But they're like, oh, but if the wind is from a different direction, now that bunker's in play. So it's like, it's got some, and the bunkering out there is insane. If you hit in a bunker, a fairway bunker, it's a drop shot. It's a true hazard.
Yeah. I just took my sand wedge and just plopped it the 25 yards sideways or slightly forward. That was it.
Exactly. I mean, you have to get super lucky and in the right spot to even advance it, onto a green from a fairway bunker. So, but yeah, Muirfield's special, man. The lunch and everything, and the tie, the coat and tie. I actually got a great story about that if you want to hear.
Fire away.
like I said, I was out doing the British Open qualifying and had their sectional, which is the final qualifying up in St. Andrews. And a good friend of mine, Scott McCarron, hooked me up with a friend who was a member at Muirfield, and so he took me out to North Berwick and Muirfield, and I didn't have a coat and tie. I didn't travel with that, obviously. I wasn't expecting to play Muirfield. So he goes, yeah, we'll just go in. They'll have some extra, coats in there, and here's a shirt and tie, you borrow or whatever. So it was great. So we go in there. We play 18 in the morning, and alternate shot, which was awesome. And then we go in for lunch and go into the locker room. Locker room attendant says, hey, yeah, you look about this size. I think I got something for you. And pulls out this really nice blue coat. I'm like, great. And I put it on. It fits like a glove. I mean, it fits awesome. Everyone's complimenting me. Like, all the guys we were with were like, wow, that looks really great. Like, it looks like it's made for you. So the other member in the group said, hey, just take that coat. Like, don't worry about it. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, if they say anything to me, I'll just pay for it. He's like, just take it. He's like, it's on us. I was like, okay. So I finished out the rest of the trip. I think I played the Northern Ireland Open after British Open final, and then came home.
Did you run to the parking lot Did you run to the parking lot, by the way, with the coat like you're stealing it? Did you do a runner?
No.
No. Okay.
They all carried their stuff in, so I carried my stuff out.
You did not have to have the car hot and ready and just
no.
I picture an attendant chasing you. My coat, sir. My coat. Right.
Yeah. Excuse me. That's Mr. Gilmore's jacket.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
No. Well, the coolest part. I'd say the coolest part. I want to have this jacket from Muirfield now, but I come home and I go to get it dry cleaned, and I'm like, I don't know how many people have worn this or who's worn this or whatever. I was like, I'll get it dry cleaned. And so I just happened to open up, the inside and I check out the brand, and it's a Versace coat.
And
serious? I'm like, they gave me a Versace coat from Muirfield locker room and just said, hey, just take it home. I was like, oh my gosh, that's just a cool. I think I'm just going to put it on the wall. I've worn it.
Yeah, I was just going to say. Yeah, like that's a story, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. So of course, ate the lunch, and then what's the drink that they have? Do you remember? It's like
it's like that. I forget the name of it. It's got a weird licorice taste to it. And they just serve it there and at Prestwick. That's only two places, but you have to drink it when you're there. It's okay.
Yeah, we had a handful of those, and then we went out and played another 18 alternate shot. They were actually getting ready for the women's Open. I think was coming out, like you said, a few weeks later. So it's they were only allowing 2 balls per group. So if you played a foursome, it's true foursome. It's alternate shot. If you wanted to play your own ball, you had to play in a twosome. So, but that course, like I said, was designed so well, especially for alternate shot. You can walk, by the time you walk back to the tee, hit your tee shot, and then your partner is already basically up in the fairway waiting for your ball to come up. And so by the time you get to them, they've already hit their shot and you're already walking to the green. So you played super fast.
They move over there.
Places. Yeah, they don't mess around at all.
3 hours, man. If it's not 3 hours, we're doing something wrong here.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, really special place, and just links golf in general. St. Andrews was awesome. All that was just again, it was, I'd never done any of that, and it was just made me, I was like, I have to go sign up for DP World Tour school now. That's a must.
I'm with you. I think it's the most creative way to play golf. There's something about that chess match with the wind, the bunkering. You can hit different shots, trajectory control. I think there's something so cool. I got addicted, playing links golf out in the Sandhill region and just fell in love with it. And it transfers over to, that's linksy enough over there where you can go to Europe and play it. I think there's just something so special about like you said, every day is different. And if you like trajectory control and working the golf ball and maybe hitting this part of the green so the slope takes it, I think just such a fun way to play golf.
Exactly. No, and it's so the direct route is almost never the right route there. Whereas as Parkland golf, we're used to, you gotta fly it, hit it high, and land it in certain areas to get close. And there you got the wind to work it off of, you got slopes to work it off of. So it's pretty spectacular.
Absolutely. Hey, let's talk about UCLA. Three-time All-American. You win the national championship. You had a hell of a team. You guys had a hell of a run. Excuse me here, but like, what an experience that had to be. And how did you end up? Obviously playing at UCLA, you're a hell of an amateur player. You probably had a bunch of opportunities, but how did you end up picking UCLA? And what was that experience like of accomplishing everything that you guys, you as an individual and as a team accomplished there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm California born and raised, and really looked at a lot of different schools and a lot of different options. And it came down to Georgia Tech and UCLA, actually, which pretty different locations and programs and everything. Georgia Tech was, I think at that point was, their 15-year record up to that point was like they were the best team, and obviously Atlanta had some great things to offer. But at the end of the day, our coach Odie Vincent, who recruited me at UCLA, he was just really inspiring guy and really believed in what he was doing there at UCLA, and had just taken the program over a few years before. Great player himself, played DP World Tour, actually won Pac-10s as an individual when he was at University of Washington. So, a guy that I thought like, hey, this isn't just an organizer here, like a lot of coaches are. This is a guy who can play and also
he knows what you guys are going through, and right, he's been there.
Exactly. So, and also he took a team over that wasn't even his recruits, and almost won the national championship a few times. Little John Merrick, was kind of the classes before me. Travis Johnson, who created Travis Matthews, was on that team as well. John Poucher, Steve Conway. So there were some like great guys that went there. But yeah, I saw a guy, from my perspective, that came in and took over a team that wasn't his, and who really weren't great, and made them great. So, and then also it's hard to argue with Southern California weather, the golf course rotation that they have for practice, and the food was really good. So I was like, let's go to UCLA. Really disappointed my grandma, because she was a season ticket holder for the Trojans, the USC across town.
Yeah, that could be trouble.
Yeah, she really wanted me to go there. At the end of the day, I'm really glad I picked UCLA. I had Kevin Chappell was a friend of mine growing up playing junior golf, and he was already there. And so, yeah, it was just kind of, at the end of the day, it was a no-brainer. I have no regrets about picking that one.
When you played with Chappell, was he? I mean, he's been on the PGA Tour for what? Gosh, 12, 15 years now, right? I mean, he's been out there for a long time. Could you see the talent with him, or did he get better over time? Or in college, did he have that next gear that you could just see?
Well, I mean, he's always had the talent. I mean, Chappell has always been a really good ball striker, great iron player. He always struggled with his putting, was kind of his Achilles heel. And I think his first 2 years at UCLA, he did okay. I'm not sure if he was like maybe an honorable mention once or twice in those years, but basically what happened was he learned how to putt. I mean, it was like and his confidence soared, and his last year, he dominated. He won regionals. He won NCAA championship. He was the only guy under par as an individual. We played the camping course out at Purdue, and so Pete Dye track 7,600 yards. It was blowing 30, and the rough was up. It was insane. And this guy goes out and shoots like 67 in the third round, and like one human being like broke par that day, basically. He just was like,
so then you can start to see that separation. We're like, wow.
Yeah, he does. When he really blossomed his senior year, and really, like, I'm super proud of the guy. He's had a great career, and during that time, and a lot of people maybe not know this or remember this, but his brother actually passed away that year when we were in college. And it was like,
I did not know that.
He overcame all of that and used it to light a fire and really kind of springboard his career, because like he was, as a guy that was always super talented, and that's why he was recruited to UCLA. He wasn't, I don't know if he was recruited a lot of other places, but always a super talented guy. Like I said, I've played with that guy since I was 10 years old, and he's always been a guy that was like, man, this guy could be really good. And he became really good. And that's just, but yeah, you got to, on the professional level, you got to put it all together. And so when he found his putting and his short game, it was the rest is history.
Yeah, and there is no guarantee, right? I mean, there's a lot of great D1 college players who never make it to the PGA Tour, even Korn Ferry Tour, right? There's no guarantee on it. But
right.
You can sometimes see the guys where it's like they're, you talk to, well, I mean, you played with DJ quite a bit, right? You said his talent was pretty evident, right? Like even at the amateur level, it's like, okay, this guy's got a real hell of a shot at getting out there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, DJ was insane in college, and he hit it a lot longer back then. He's done a good job of like honing his power and dialing things in, and now he's got his famous cut now, which before he would the guy could hit it a mile. It was insane. But fun guys to play with, man, and come up with for sure.
And then winning the whole thing, that had to be, from a team experience, such a cool thing, right? That's the goal, is as a team. That's
pinnacle of that's pinnacle of college golf, or really any anybody who's going to play competitively coming up, at least in the U.S. That's very important to us. And no, it's really cool. I mean, it's special because it's a team, and we worked really hard together. We had a goal. We stayed focused, and we executed, and it was really, really cool to accomplish that together. And team golf is sort of coming back, obviously, with Live Tour and Ryder Cups and President's Cups. Those are all really fun events. So college golf is that other pinnacle team event. And it was cool for a lot of reasons. But it was actually the last stroke play national championship that was played, so they switched to match play the following year. And then it was UCLA's 103rd national championship, which was really cool. And then it's almost the most pressure. That in Q school is probably the most pressure I've felt playing golf. You got a lot of people relying on you, and I know everybody talks about that, but it's true.
Well, you're playing for the team. It's more than just you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You're representing the university, you're representing everybody there, and your teammates and your coach, right? Like it is. It's just not about you anymore. It's about you and them, which is different because, most of the time golf is kind of selfish. You're playing for yourself. But in that environment, that is, I've interviewed hundreds of touring pros. The most pressure they've ever felt, even over a major, is Ryder Cup or President's Cup.
Oh, totally.
I've never felt that pressure, like even playing for a major, because it's exactly to the point that you're saying. Of what that's like, because it's not just about you anymore.
Well, just to give you an idea how difficult that course played that year, we won, and I think we shot 41 or 42 over par.
And you guys won it.
And we won, yeah.
That seems a bit ridiculous.
It was so tough. I mean, it was spotters both sides every hole. I mean, it was a chip out if you miss the fairway, and like I said, it was playing long and windy. There was like a tornado warning at one point. It was just insane, but it felt real extra special because we beat USC, Southern California, and Stanford, I think, by a shot each. So, that feels just extra special. You know what I mean?
Well, there's always, going to ask you the LA thing too, because there's always this interesting conversation of the big three, right? You got Bel Air, LACC, and Riv. Yeah, you've obviously played them all. If you could play one every day, and then we'll talk about the US Open here at LACC, but if you could play one every day, which one is it?
It'd have to be Riv. I mean, Riv is one of my favorite tracks. It actually has no hazards on the golf course, obviously bunkers, but there's no water hazards on the golf course. I think it's the best course with no water hazards maybe in the world. I mean, it's fantastic. And the Kikuyu grass is obviously a little challenging. It's a little different, but the whole place, I mean, the clubhouse and the view from the clubhouse, and you can always see the clubhouse from basically anywhere on the golf course. You can always look up, and there it is up on the hill. And I mean, the place is it's definitely its own little mecca of golf, and LA golf especially. I would go with Riv, but Bel Air is really good. Bel Air and LACC have both been redone since I've been there. So I actually haven't played them since their redos. But Bel Air was always a really, really challenging course, especially when we had to qualify, doing team qualifying. It was short, but the way that the greens were tiered and very fast and firm, I mean, it's some of the most difficult, just like wedge golf course, because it was pretty short back then for us. I mean, it was tough to break par in qualifying when they had it set up tough.
And if you looked at it on paper, you would be like, no problem. Someone have wedge into every hole, and you're out there and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it was always like
even with
one
the
of those
wedge,
things.
this is tough.
Yeah, if we were just, dinking around for normal practice, which we played Bel Air, this is our college rotation, which was incredible. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but Mondays was Lakeside Country Club, right by WB Studios. Fantastic golf course, maybe the best bunkers ever. If you've played there, you know what I'm talking about. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays was Bel Air, 6:45 a.m., ball in air. And then Wednesdays was Wilshire. And then Fridays we'd have a team meeting. We'd either practice on campus or we would go to Riviera. My later years, we played a lot more at LACC, actually. We didn't play much my first couple years there, but we played a lot more there. And I was actually fortunate to tie the course record of 63 in one of our qualifying matches or rounds before the redo. And that was kind of a funny story. That course is extremely difficult, by the way, because it's long. And back then I don't know how it is now, but I've heard
I think they opened it up quite a bit. Yeah. I think they've had to open
a lot
it
of
up.
trees. For you to score out there back then, you'd have to hit it 300, in a blanket spot, because there was trees that would block parts of greens and stuff like that. That was just an insane putting day. I made like a bunch of long putts, and I remember being on the last hole, and I'm like, man, I don't know what the course record is, but if I birdie 18, like I'm gonna shoot 63. That's gotta be really close to the course record. So I go up, I hit like a 9-iron to 6 feet and make birdie. I'm all excited. I walk in the clubhouse and I'm like, hey, what's the course record? And they're, oh, it's 63. I said, well, I just tied it. I was like, do you want my scorecard? Like, what do you, I'm thinking like, this is going to be like a ceremonial thing. They're like,
yeah,
nah.
you're going to have a plaque.
They're like, nah,
right.
That's cool, man. Good job.
Tap you on the head. Good
yeah,
job
like,
there, buddy. Right.
20 years
right,
old.
next.
Good job, bud.
Yeah.
But
here's your free peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Get out of here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no doubt it's going to play awesome for the U.S. Open. I'm excited to see it, just from a remodel standpoint. But also, USGA's been trying to have, the Open there for years. I think they had a standing invitation, if I'm not wrong, for 20 plus years. And they're kind of known to be a little bit, it's the snootier club, let's say, of the three. No offense to them, but they've been denying the U.S. Open for years. And of course, there's the Playboy Mansion on the course, and we used to hear all these rumors and stories of like, oh well, Hugh Hefner tried to join the club, and then they not only did they tell him no, but they said you'll never be a member because you asked, and like just kind of stuff like that. But
well, and I think part of them probably getting the U.S. Open was the redo. I'm sure that had a bunch to do with it, right? That the USGA goes out there and goes, hey, this is great and everything, but if you want a U.S. Open.
Well, no. So the USGA had been trying to have it at LA for years. I don't know that they
even before the redo.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Okay.
the USGA had been wanting to have a U.S. Open there for years, and the club just kept saying no. We were like, no, we don't want it.
So it did not have a predication
USGA,
on, hey, you have to fix this stuff.
No, definitely not. And I definitely don't know what happened or changed for them to get it, or if the redo had anything to do with that from the club standpoint. But obviously something changed, and they're having it there this year, and I think that's really cool for LA and in general, because I think it's pretty rare that, at least nowadays, it seems like there's kind of like a 10 course rotation for the USGA and maybe even the PGA, where it's just like, they play a lot of the same places, and it's going to be cool to see a course that really no one's ever seen unless you've played it, or, which is a very difficult golf course to get on as far as, networking is concerned. So I think it's really cool for golf to see something new, and obviously the redo as well. So it's almost a brand new track, really.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm such a geek from the architectural standpoint of, what did they fix? How do they do it? And see how it looks on TV and how it plays. So I'm definitely looking forward. Hopefully you'll be playing in it. That's the whole idea.
I'm hoping.
I'm
first
on TV
alternate
doing
right now for out of locals, unfortunately. So we'll see if I can get it.
I'm going to take the positive side of this, or you never know, right? It might work in your
favor. Yeah. You never know. You never know.
Hey, you getting on the Korn Ferry Tour, that's hard to get through Q school to do it. What was your pathway? I know it happened for you pretty quick, and, how were those years on the Korn Ferry Tour, and what was sort of that journey like that you were on?
Oh, man. So I finished college. I got out in 2009. I actually took 2010 off. I was just kind of burnt out, honestly, and had a tough go at Q school right after college. So I just kind of took a year and actually did some backpacking and worked some construction, just kind of like, a lot of people know this, but I just kind of like, just took a year. It was just like, it wasn't a whole year, but just, a summer was like, man, I've been grinding every summer, amateur golf and then playing college golf. And I was just tired by the time I turned pro. I was just like, man, I just need to reset here. So I did that. And then 2011 played a full season, went and played mini tours, the old Gateway Tour out in Arizona, played some e-golf tour out in Carolinas. And yeah, went to Q school and had to go through like pre-qualifying. That was like a new thing back then. And I think I took second and then just kind of moseyed through first. And then I won second stage by 4. And I was playing well and went to finals and missed my big card by a shot down the stretch. Nothing really happened as far as like, there was no freak like lip out or, ball hitting the liner of the cup or something crazy. But yeah, it was made a really nice run there and so yeah, I was sitting kind of first position for out of the Q school category the next year and had plenty of starts and unfortunately just didn't adapt real well to tour golf as far as traveling and just kind of managing myself. That was a little new and lost my card the first year and so I went back to Q school, got through Q school again and got my card back, a little Vince India style.
Yeah,
and
the master of it.
Yeah, the master. And so then played the following year and I lost my card again. And then I got injured. And that was really, that was a bummer because I literally had just lost status and tore some muscles in my ribs. Actually, I was warming up to play. It was really cold outside and had to forego Q school and heal up. And that took about 6 months and went back, did some Monday qualifiers, got into some events and made a cut. Just, nothing, kind of need to catch lightning in a bottle if you're going to do Mondays, but went back to Q school and missed by a shot at second stage. So didn't get any status. And that year just kind of ran me dry, so to speak, as far as patience and funds. And so I hung it up for, gosh, I really only meant to hang it up to like find some backing or something, and keep going, but it just didn't work out. And so, yeah, my life kind of took a different path and started working and, steady income was nice. I was married at the time. So it was, that was helpful as well as far as for that. And yeah, I kind of got into some cool business opportunities, which was fun and working with great people. And so that all kind of led, I really took 7 years off between Korn Ferry Tour starts, really 6 years of playing. And in that time, worked for a few different companies, but eventually landed in the restaurant business, which I didn't realize I had such a passion for. I'd always liked, going out to eat. It's kind of like the main event when you're playing tour golf. It's, where are we eating tonight and what's a fun spot to see? You don't get it's not really you're not a tourist when you're playing on the tour, but you do have time to eat. So that's kind of the main thing for me, to go find somewhere cool and where the locals would go type situation, not a big chain guy. So yeah, we opened up a restaurant here in Charlotte called Vana. It's all wood fired and cocktails and nice beer program. And it's just fantastic. It's taken off. We've got a second one opening up, hopefully here in a few months, actually just down the road from where I live. So we've got one in uptown Charlotte in South End, and then another one here up in Lake Norman where I live, coming. So yeah, it's been really great. We've been featured in Forbes, as a, perfect trip to Charlotte. It's a top 2 restaurant to go visit. And, we've won a few awards and been on the cover of a few magazines. So it's been awesome, man. I mean, that really has nothing to do with me. I just kind of saw the vision and believed in the team that was doing it. And, I was managing with, our managing partner at their other restaurant, which I really have no involvement in other than just working, but, invested into the newer project, with Vana, and yeah, it's been great. I mean, I really enjoyed that. And then COVID hit, everything was shut down, and I had some time to go hit some balls, and here we are again playing. So that was what I'd always wanted to do. I didn't really mean to take so much time off, but kind of in a lot of ways rebuilt, my life, financially speaking and personally, and was in a much better spot to go chase it again. And so, that's what I did. And, it's been fun to watch kind of both things grow simultaneously.
So when you take that much time off, like how little golf did you actually play? Like when you said I'm done, is it like I'm done, or would you still, play 2 or 3 times a week with the boys at the club and stuff like that? Even though you weren't touring around the world playing professionally.
No, I literally played maybe 2 or 3 times a year during that time. I think, one, the club I was at, I kind of had an honorary position that was based on having status, but I didn't have any status. So I wasn't going to go like join a club, and I'd get invited out a few times, kind of basically like a ringer for like a random charity scramble or something like that. That's basically all I did. So yeah, it was always, it was kind of weird. It was a bit like riding a bike.
Did you miss it, right? Because golf was such part of your life, and then all of a sudden did you miss it or not miss it?
Like I missed competing. I missed traveling. I missed, but I missed competing the most, because that's what I did really, my whole life, whether it was other sports or golf, it was competing, and I didn't have that, kind of outlet anymore. And that's what I miss the most. It was tough, man. The first couple years, I didn't watch golf on TV or nothing. I just like almost put my head in the sand. You know what I mean? I'm like, if I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to be totally out of it. And like, I'd moved towns. I'd moved to Charlotte from California. And so, I was really only playing tour golf for maybe a year and a half or so when I lived here. And then I stopped. So most people I met like didn't even know I played golf in the past. I wouldn't even talk about it.
Just talking about restaurant business and
yeah, just like, this is what he does and whatever. And then like randomly some friend might be like, oh yeah, he won an NCAA championship with UCLA or this, that, and the other, and they'd find out about it. But it was kind of funny, because it was just like, oh yeah, it's just kind of I might be the most non-golfy person you'll meet. I'm not really a golf nerd person, even though I kind of am. But yeah, it was just it was an interesting time, I think, in my life, just kind of learning more about myself and what motivates me and what I care about. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was tough. It was tough to get through some of that. And, like I said, like I'd never really had the time to go practice. I knew what it took to play at a high level. And I'm just like, I just don't have the time or the means to do that. So I guess the road is over here. You know what I mean? So, but luckily, since I started playing again, some opportunities have come up and awesome sponsors and a few partners helping me out, and we're back doing it again, and that's been huge. I couldn't do it without everyone else's support, for sure. It takes a team. In my case, I don't, obviously guys do it differently. Some people have family money, some people have an insane resume and they're going to get some starts or some sponsor exemptions, and my route's been a little different. So
yeah, I missed, like, it'd be so weird for, like, I didn't play much golf for the last 6 months with my injuries, and like I'm just starting to get healthy. And same thing, kind of like I knew when I was done, I'm just going to shut it down, and it is what it is, and it's going to be a pretty long road recovery. And then, once you, like for me, like once I'm just starting to hit the golf ball, like I want to hit the golf ball again. And it's like, God, did I miss this? And even at my level, like it still feels great to all of a sudden, hit a drive 280 yards or 275, right? It's like, it's flushed for me. And to have an iron come off the right way, I played yesterday, it's starting to happen. It's like, I don't think I realized how much I missed it. I love golf so much after, even all these years of working in it. But it's kind of interesting how you can almost trick yourself into, I don't like it that much. I'm injured. F it, I'm going to watch more Formula One than golf this fall. And then it starts creeping back in a little bit where it's like, all right, I'm getting healthier. The injuries are corrected surgery-wise. No excuses. Let's go back at this. It just being out there and, competing and just getting the most out of whatever level talent you have. God, I missed it, man. Like, it's so fun to kind of come back and sort of see it. And you don't realize how much you miss it because you kind of just talk yourself into, I don't miss it that much. But you
No,
do.
totally. And you're right. It's just like something about flushing a shot. And golf is such a cool sport because it really, I mean, it almost can't be mastered. You can have flashes of time where you're mastered, you're just hitting everything perfect. But the reality is it's just a big challenge for yourself, and there's nobody playing defense on you. So it's other than the golf course and your mind.
Yeah.
So, that aspect is fun. And I always felt like when you're on the golf course, like nothing can go wrong as far as like anxiety and just like things that I was struggling with just in life. Like that went away on the golf course because I was just so focused on what I was doing. You're out in God's creation.
You get lost in it. Yeah. You're focused. There's nothing else. Like
it's awesome, man.
It's great.
Like it's such a great sport.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, right? Like, gosh, how much I appreciate being a healthier and just how much I'm enjoying, and same with you. Like, where you're doing it professionally, I'm doing it at an amateur level, but it's so much fun to kind of have that comeback. The other thing I was going to ask you is when you look back at your Korn Ferry Tour experience, and you said, my guess is you probably pushed too hard. A lot of the young guys do. The thing has to be perfection and that stuff. Are you still using that as a hell of a learning curve for this comeback of what you might have done wrong looking back as a young guy out on tour? Is that experience kind of made you better on the second go around?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes I made my first year was I was exempt for every event, and I played every event. Like, I didn't take weeks off. You know what I mean? I was always just kind of like,
young guys pushing. That's what happens. Young guys pushing.
I'm like, yeah, why? Like, they're handing money out. Let's just go get it. Like, it's like,
yeah.
No, man, you got to rest. You got to, like, it's a job. And so, like, being strategic with that, I totally wasn't. I wasn't really physically in the best shape. I wasn't eating right. You know what I mean? I wasn't, it's a different animal than, the hand holding of college golf. Here's your they got your outfits planned for the day and dry cleaning for you and travel arrangements. And, you know what I mean? All you got to do is just show up and think about golf, and you don't have that on a professional level. I mean, it can cost a lot of money. But yeah, you got to manage a budget and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's, I've learned a lot and just kind of, again, like probably most importantly, just like, be nice to myself, be encouraging to myself and kind of like how you talk to yourself during a round. And obviously we all get angry and, can say some pretty mean things to ourselves. It's like, hey man, like a lot of times I'll be like, hey man, Erik, like it's okay, man. It's all good. Like you got this. And it's just a bogey. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing is like making bogey your worst score. I mean, I was just, I was pressing so much to make birdies out on Korn Ferry. I mean, I had some good stats on Korn Ferry. I was number 2 in putts per round. I think I was like somewhere in the top 20 of birdies per round. I was top 10 in driving distance. All things were like, well, you're top 10 in driving distance and number 2 in putting. The guy should
pretty good combo. Yeah.
This guy should be getting his tour card this year. No, like I was, but I'd have blow up holes, nothing crazy, but maybe a double, maybe a triple.
And that's the ones that kill you. You can make a bogey and get away with it out there, but if you start making triples, it's too much to overcome with the talent.
Yeah, and you're pressing all the time just to try to make more birdies, and so it's like, the fastest way to erase, 4.5, 5, average birdies around is a triple bogey. And,
Yep.
and now you make 1 or 2 other bogeys and you shoot even. And on the Korn Ferry Tour, for the most part, you need to shoot 4 or 5 under a round to be competitive. And so that's kind of, was a big deal. So yeah, I was just really aggressive. I try to make birdie from no man's land, all the time. And that was just, it's kind of stupid. So,
well, there's your learning curve, right? There's the young guy who fires at everything with the confidence that you can get it up and down from everywhere. I mean, this is not, with all the podcasts I've done, Pro, this is not the first time I've heard of a young stud out of college firing at everything their first go around and go, wait, I can really play golf. What the hell happened? How did I lose my card? And I kind of like, from interviewing all these people, it's like there is a learning curve to being a professional. I'm sure like Scotty McCarron has talked to you about that, right? There's a learning curve of how to be a pro, on tour pro.
Totally.
How to manage your time, when to say no, when do you back it down? How do you turn a 72 into a 68? I'm sure like somebody like Scott has a master class in that. Hey, I don't have my best stuff today. What am I going to do to shoot 3 or 4 under and keep me in it? He can do that, right? I'm sure there is an art to being a touring pro.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think you have to go through the other side of it to learn the so many young guys come out doing what you did. It's not a bad thing. That's just kind of what happens most of the time.
Yeah, and when you're playing college golf or really amateur, junior golf and all that stuff, you're only playing guys that are within 3 or 4 years of age of you. When you get onto professional golf, it's the whole world. It's not just, you could go beat up on, your fellow 15-year-olds when you're 15 and that's great. But professional golf's the whole talent pool together. And so it's a fine line, I think, it's easy to look on TV and be like, oh, that guy missed a cut, he sucks. And it's like, no, dude, like, do you know how good everybody is? Do you know how hard the golf courses are set up? And it's, again, it's such a fine line. If I look back at rounds, important rounds where it's like, it's a bounce here or there, it's a decision here or there, and those are the things that separate, the good from the great on that level. So that's what I'm still learning about and still trying to apply. But has helped me out. I mean, I've definitely grown in that area of
1,000%, right?
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't go through it, how do you learn? I mean, you got to look at it as a net learning experience, right? But like I said, there's lots of conversations I've had with people who've done the exact same thing. You come out, you're on, you're invincible. You go like hell, fire at everything, and then you learn from it, right? I mean, that's kind of how it goes. I was going to ask you some quick hitters here too. At the end of this, I always think it's kind of interesting, just like a couple quick, interesting golf questions. But funniest moment you ever had playing professional golf? Like, there's got to be something from a pro-am group or experience with another pro, something like that's had to pop up over all the years of doing it. Of something that I can't believe this just happened.
Well, how PG are we, or what's the rating of this podcast?
Oh, do whatever you want to do. Fire it up.
I would say two of the funniest stories, just real quick. One is John Daly. It's a John Daly story, so who doesn't like a John Daly story? But I think I was in Knoxville, and I was playing in the final group on Sunday, and he was playing that event that week. I think he got a sponsor exam. This is like 2012, I think. Yeah, whatever. So he's in front of me, and he was on 16. We're on 16 tee, and he's on the green. And it's just like a really cool amphitheater setting because 15 green runs right up to the water, and then the tee box is right there for this par 3 over the water to the green, and then 17 tees right next to that. And it was one of those holes where it was like, if a pro makes a birdie, beers are like $1 for 5 minutes or something like that. One of those specials. And
I'm all in on that, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a tough par 3. It was like a 4 or 5 iron over water. And so anyways, we're just sitting on the tee, like, waiting for them to finish. And JD's up on the green. He's got like a 30-footer from the middle of the green, and he rolls it in. And I mean, this crowd is just, I mean, they're already sauced. It's Sunday afternoon, and it's Knoxville, Tennessee, which they like to drink up there. So, but the funny part is just like the scene of like beholding this scene. It was my first year on tour. I'm like, dude, John Daly's up ahead of me, rolling in these bombs, and this lady next to me on the tee was standing like, just outside the ropes. She passes out. I mean, it's like amid the whole roar. She passes out face first into the water. It's just like floating in the water, and all these people jump in to grab her, and she's just like, I don't know what happened to her, but we're just like, oh my gosh, like this is John Daly at his finest. There's people blacking out in the water, and he's making, birdie putts. But that was just like a really intense, fun scene that I remember being like, wow, this is everything I wanted to be playing.
I have arrived. I
have
arrived.
Exactly. This is it. This is peak life. No, I'm just kidding. The other one was just a funny thing that I saw happen / heard happen, and I won't mention this player's name.
Out of respect.
Yeah, but it was down in Lafayette, Louisiana, playing the Korn Ferry event there, nationwide days. And we were both like just sitting outside the cut line. We've got, I don't know, 4 holes left, and we're on 16. Again, this is hole number 16, par 3. And so over water, it's kind of a raised green, and, over the back is like it's just down the hill in the rough. And I actually ended up stuffing one into like a foot. And I'm like really pumped about it because I just need one more birdie coming in to make the cut. He hits his way over the green. I mean, it was just like way over the green. And he hits this flop shot, goes for a flop shot, and he sculls it. Okay. And there's water in the front of the green. So he's coming back like this thing's going in the water 100%. It hits the top of the flagstick and drops straight down on the cup for a 2. Yeah, and we're all standing there like, this lucky bastard. Like, you know what I mean? Like the other players are, and like nobody says anything. And he's walking right up, and we're all standing there by the pin. He goes, "Well, boys, she wasn't pretty, but she had big tits." I was like, we literally all died laughing. On the
scorecard.
We were done.
2 on the scorecard.
Yeah, so he made 2, and he ended up birdieing 17 and making the cut. But it was just like one of those things where like, this guy was like, the accent was for a reason. So let's just leave it at that. But that was probably one of the funniest things I've heard / seen.
Well, that's going to break the tension on that one. Like, what do you say to a touring pro that beans it off the flag?
Exactly.
Like a 20 handicap, right?
Exactly. Nobody said anything. It was perfect.
Biggest regret you've ever had on the golf course?
Oh man, two big regrets in my career. One was I added instead of subtracted during final stage of Q school in 2011 when I missed my big tour card by a shot. It was 6 rounds or whatever, and it was in like round 3. It wasn't like down the stretch or anything like that, so it kind of didn't poke out to me until later. But that one keeps me up at night because I added instead of subtracted, and I was like 85 yards in the middle of the fairway. This is out of PGA West, and you should be getting a decent, if not a great birdie look from there. And I ended up hitting it over the green and making double bogey. And then I missed my shot down the stretch. So that one hurt. And the other one, I would say, my senior year, I was at Palmer Cup. And this is a don't do what I did kids story. I think I had a really good summer after we won NCAAs my junior year, and as far as amateur golf, and was definitely high in the runnings for Walker Cup the following year, and stayed amateur for the summer after college to make that team, which really would have been like the last feather in the cap, for me. I'd made Palmer Cup and US Japan match teams and things like that, so really wanted to be out of the team. And Buddy Marucci was the coach that year, famous Buddy Marucci, and that's like a picking team. Like, you don't really have points, and I don't know how they do it now, but back then it was like they just pick everybody. So it's a little more political and all that. And he'd come out to Palmer Cup to watch, a bunch of us play, and I was having a tough week and was in a heated match with Stefan Grossman, who's a German guy. And I'm on 17, and I think I'm dormy, like 2 down. And, I need to hit a good drive. It's a par 5, and I pulled it left in the rough, like kind of, just kind of snapped it a little bit. And I was super pissed, and I was not happy with my driver setup, and I just turn around and I just break my driver over my back. I mean, it was just like it was just a full on, like, the match is basically over, and in my mind I'm like, I've got another driver set up in my locker, like I'm going to switch to, you know what I mean? Like, and I turn around and Buddy Marucci's standing right there.
And you're like, oh no.
And I'm like,
it looks like you're losing your shit in front of him. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, I had no idea. And it was just one of those things, like, I was being a total idiot. And this is not like hey, cool guy, you broke your club. It was not. And I totally regret that. And I'm sure that had something to do. I didn't make that team. And, you know, just all in all, like, wasn't a good look. And you know, that's not really the type of person I am. I mean, obviously everyone gets mad and wants to break every club in their bag, you know, weekly, but you shouldn't do that. So,
oh, we've all been there, right? We've all lost our shit on the golf course, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
it can happen to all. If you love golf and played golf, you have not had a moment like that where I think the older you get, more mature, you get a little better with it, but everyone's had it happen.
Totally.
You just
and I was
lose your mind over it.
22 years old or something like that. I mean, you know, whatever, but it was no excuse. And I was raised better than that. Let's put it that way. If my dad used to threaten to pull me off the golf course all the time if I got mad like that, you know what I mean? So it was embarrassing and something I regret for sure.
What was it like to spend time with Mr. Palmer at the Palmer Cup? What was he like when, you know, kind of mentoring and seeing the young guys and stuff like that? Like, what was that experience like?
Oh, that was awesome. That's a great question because, yeah, it was, again, like, you know, he's passed now, and so being able to spend some time with him was great and play his event. You know, he was definitely he was older then for sure, and but he's had really cool stories and just, you know, the guy had an amazing life and experience, and really, you know, a lot of people want to give Tiger a lot of credit for the growing of the game on professional level and the money that's involved. But, you know, Mr. Palmer was kind of the original version of that. Not that he was Tiger, but he was like, he brought corporate America into the game.
Modernized golf. Yeah.
Exactly.
Made those guys, because there was no money. I mean, you know, back in the day in the 40s and 50s, those guys would take, you know, club pro jobs when the season was over and taught. And like, there was not a lot of money in professional golf until Mr. Palmer sort of made golf sexy and did the commercials, and he looked great, and he's doing, you know what I mean? Like, he modernized it to where you didn't have to get a second gig, you know, to play professional golf.
Right. It was a traveling circus, you know, before, what still kind of is, but it, you know, definitely like, you know, it was a traveling circus back then, and he just had some great stories, and he's also a pilot. He's one of the first people to, you know, he just got a plane, got a pilot's license, and he would just fly around his events, and I thought that was really cool. Just, you know, I've always wanted to fly and just have an interest in planes. So, yeah, it was great to spend time with him, and that's just a really cool event that still goes on today. So it was awesome.
All right, last one here. Best golf shot you've ever hit under pressure?
Oh my God!
For amateur career or professional? Like, yeah, I mean, like when you needed this, and then you stepped up and did
it. I'd like to say too many to count, but no, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's a good thing.
No, I mean they're all under pressure, but no. Oh man, I don't know. Honestly, I really don't have anything sticking out at me. Let's go with this isn't necessarily when it counted, but I did have a hole-in-one in Q School last fall, and that was pretty special.
Okay, that's pretty good.
That was good. It was like first round. It wasn't like, you know, can't say it didn't mean nothing, but it was.
It helps. A one on the scorecard never like, hurts.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. But yeah, I couldn't tell you honestly. There's so many.
There's so many good golf shots. Well, I mean, you
so
know.
it's just I can't even count the good golf shots.
Yeah, my greatness level is at such a level. It's almost like it's just too many to comprehend at this juncture.
You know what? I do have one. Have one. I'm going deep. This is a deep cut. 12 years old. I am playing Junior Worlds, and it's the first time I'd qualified for Junior Worlds, which used to be a really big deal. I don't know how it is now, but I'm playing in the 11-12 age group, and I'm in the final group, final day. And so there's no like scoreboards or leaderboards, so I don't really know what's going on. I'm just trying to beat the guys in my group, thinking like we're out ahead of everybody. and I ended up birdieing 17 and 18. And like, I'm like fist pumping myself. Like, you know, I just won Junior Worlds. You know what I mean?
Old school Tiger. You're going old school Tiger on us. The
I mean,
fist
like,
pumps are
yeah,
going.
like just under the, I mean, I'm 12 and this is like all the pressure in the world. All I'd played at that point was just like, you know, local Northern California events and Northern Nevada events. Cause I grew up on the border in Lake Tahoe, like near Lake Tahoe. So, yeah, I hadn't played like Junior Worlds. I mean, when you're 12 years old and you're Junior Worlds, you're thinking like, this is it.
That's the major.
So,
that
yeah,
group.
I remember making that putt on 18 and I'm like literally like about to cry thinking like I just won. And so like from what I knew, those were like the most pressure putts I feel like I'd made back to back. Now I got in and somebody shot a course record and beat me.
but
and I
under
took
the
second.
moment,
But in the moment, I was like, man, I had nothing to be ashamed of, and I performed under pressure, and really that changed my perspective on golf because before that it was just like a seasonal sport for me. I'd played, you know, soccer and, you know, whatever, basketball, football, and all that stuff. And at that point, I said, you know what? I think I can get a scholarship and go play. And I when I got into high school, I dropped all the other sports and just focused on golf, and that was based on that event. So that was really cool. It was definitely a life defining, you know, or career defining moments. I know it was young, but it was a big deal. Big deal for me.
Hey, that's a good one. So we'll end on that. That's for a 12-year-old to step up and do it. You know, it showed you had a little bit of intestinal fortitude even as a youngster, right? Like, you know, you could get it done when you had to. So, hey, man, we're going to be looking, you know, I'll be in Europe this summer a little bit too, working with our UK guys over there. So we will be watching to see how you're doing on the Challenge Tour. And, you know, I don't know, maybe I think our paths might cross up in Scotland or something sometime this summer. So we may bump into each other.
They're definitely going to pass. They're definitely going to cross.
So, man, thanks for doing this. Like, we enjoyed the conversation. We're pulling for you, you know, and we love the comeback. So, you know, we'll be watching the results on the Challenge Tour, and hopefully that turns into a DP World Tour card. And, you know, the sky's the limit. So it's going to be fun to be a part of the journey with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. I really appreciate the support, and awesome spending some time with you.
Perfect. Thanks, Pro.